Hello, good evening, friends. Uh, I'm thankful to Facility Management Network, especially Nilosh Parot, who has been coding with me and the team for requesting me to share my experience or our view on solar energy, mainly solar thermal. So before I start, I will just like to give you a small background about me. My name is Deepak Gadhia, and I am a serial entrepreneur. I was very fortunate to have brought technology of solar concept to India. So basically, what I'm going to do is walk you through how I got into solar energy and the challenges I faced, innovations which we had to bring in, and the future I see for solar thermal energy as a user, as a student, as an engineer, as a policy maker, how solar energy can be very fruitfully used for saving money, saving environment and all. So I will be talking for half an hour. Unfortunately, there is no facility for using slides, so maybe I will share you my PowerPoint presentation afterwards, so that you can have a look at it. So I will be talking more. I'm more a technocrat, so I'm accustomed to showing slides where you can actually visualize and see what I'm talking about. So it's a challenge for me to be able talking about a technology without showing you what it is about. So you'll have to see that, and then maybe afterwards correlate it along with the slide presentation, which you will see. So first about me, I was born and brought up in Bombay. I never ever knew that I'm going to work in field of solar because I did my Bachelor of Science in Chemistry and wanted to join my father's business. But I got a chance to go to Germany and I did my process and environmental engineering there, and this is where I became aware of environmental engineering, that this is a technology which is going to be the need of the day in the future, because economy and ecology have to go hand in hand. And this is what I saw in the Western culture, where they do develop technology, but it is always in harmony with nature. Whereas in India, we were trying to follow the economic growth model, where we thought that the ecology is the price one has to make for the progress. So I'm talking of early 80s. So after finishing my studies, I also, when I was in Germany, I met my wife who was doing a PhD there, and she was doing a PhD in genetic engineering and did a postdoctorate in agriculture. So we both were of the belief that if you want to help India, I mean, sir, even before talking about helping India, when I went from India to Germany, I was a believer that West is the best. Because many people think, because when we see Western movies, we are very impressed with the possibilities, the cleanliness, the technology there and all. So I always thought that Western world is the best world and that we have perhaps missed the boat, and that's why a lot of Indians wish or strive to go to the Western world. I was one of them. But going there, suddenly I always say that I became an Indian after I went to Germany. And it was here where I identified myself as an Indian, and I suddenly realized that maybe we were perhaps not as rich, perhaps not as clean as the Western world, but we had our lots of pros and cons also. So that means many pros. We have a great culture, great history. We have a very strong family bond. We have a very strong relationship with about friendship. And I think India has a lot of pluses, so we should not be envious of the West. Maybe they have some things which we don't have, but that's perhaps not as important as what we have in India. So anyway, I became an Indian, but of course wanted to also help India make progress, because I did not like to keep on hearing that India is a developing country and they are developed nations. So I said, what should I take to India? And we always thought that India was perhaps not making progress because we were not having enough technology. And we were dependent on imports, and we always thought that the Western world keeps the good technology to themselves and gives us the bad technology or obsolete technology. So we both studied high tech, and we wanted to help our country with our high technology which we studied. And it was again by chance that we had gone to one of the NRI meetings. After finishing our studies, we were very well placed in our job. I was working for one of the largest chemical company in the world called Wakashimi. My wife was working with United Nations. And we met Rajiv Gandhi, who was in 1984 in Holland for an NRI meet. NRI means non-resident Indian meet. And because we were successful, we went and told him what India needs to do. And he was very nice and listened to us and said, you know what, I would love to do whatever you're talking about, but I need people to do that. So why don't you help me? Why don't you come back to India and help your country? Because as I see, you've got fire in you and you want to do something for the country, and we need people like you. Please come back. And as you can imagine, that's the biggest ego massage a young couple can get. Where you are, at that time he was not a prime minister yet, but your would-be prime minister is requesting you to come back. So we decided to come back to India, and while we were talking to our German friends how we are going to help our country, we met an old German lady who told us, you know what, Deepak, I am very glad that you want to go to India and help your country, but I don't agree with your belief that you can help contribute to high technology. Actually, what India requires is appropriate technology. I did not know what appropriate technology was, and so she gave me some books, or gave us some books, which we brought back to India. And then when we started, or my wife especially, when she started reading it, she realized what she was talking about. So that was the first time we heard about the word appropriate technology, which over the time evolved and grew into us. So anyway, once we came back, unfortunately, by the time we came back, Rajiv Gandhi was already in power and already facing problem with buffers and all, so he couldn't help us. And we did not want to go back, because going back meant we would have lost our face, because as you know, an Indian can lose everything, but we cannot lose our face. And while we were coming back, we had gone to our German friends and told them we are going back to India, and our Prime Minister invited us, and we are going to make India great again. So we decided to stay back and do something here. And I didn't want to join my father's business because he was having chemical business, and being an environmentalist, I didn't want to contribute to environmental degradation. So I started working for a company, a German company, as a marketing person for Southeast Asia. And my specialization was energy conservation. I had done my master's in MIT, USA, in energy conservation, energy management. And while in Germany, working for Wacker Chemie, I had implemented some big projects on energy conservation. So I started doing that. But my wife, who was a PhD in genetic engineering, who had worked for United Nations, who had come back, she was a foreigner. And I saw that she was happy in spite of not doing something what she wanted to do. And in spite of me doing a lot in my field and traveling a lot, I was not happy. So I asked her once, how come you are happy and how come I'm unhappy? And she told me, you are unhappy because you are trying to prove yourself. And what I'm doing is very satisfying. What she had done was she had started an NGO called Eco Center ICNIR, which was International Center for Networking, Ecology, Education and Reintegration. And she was creating awareness about environmental protection, because she had realized that India could not afford to make that mistake. So she started an NGO. And initially I did not believe in her. I thought, okay, she's busy. But very quickly realized that it was very fulfilling. And having lived in the West, having seen money and prosperity, we had realized that money is not everything in life. Money is very important. I think it's very important, especially for youngsters, that you earn enough money to be self-sufficient, that no one can dictate your life. But just blindly chasing money, there is no end to it. Just like Gandhi used to say, there is enough in the world for everyone's need, but there is not enough for anyone's greed. So I think we need to learn to be satisfied. So I decided to join my wife, and I said, okay, I would like to help you and do something about environmental protection, because in the end I want to be happy and want fulfillment. And she says, why don't you help me? Because every time I go in villages, when I tell people not to cut forest, and deforestation was one of the largest challenges at that time. That means we had settled in Baroda, and then for 3 years it had not rained, 3 consecutive droughts. And we all know that there is a direct correlation between forest and rain. So when you deforest, of course, you are going to have the problem of rainfall, and the drought was the outcome. So she said, why don't you are an energy man, why don't you help me to solve the problem of deforestation? And I said, but how do I solve the problem? Because that is different. He said, no, deforestation is cooking, there is no cooking, and cooking is energy, and you are an energy person, so why don't you help? So I realized that was a correlation between deforestation and cooking and energy, or energy for cooking. So I looked around, and then I found a technology called box cooker. And I'm sure a lot of people know about box cooker. Box cooker is a technology which is just a square box, insulated with a metal body inside and a glass cover. And when the sunlight goes through the glass window, the sunlight, it gets trapped, because glass has a property, it allows the light to go in but does not allow the heat to come out. And because the box is insulated, it started getting heated, and then the temperature goes about 140, 160 degrees centigrade. And the cooking vessel you have kept in there, they get heated up, and your rice, dal, vegetable gets cooked. And I was very impressed and very pleasantly surprised that, wow, there is a technology with which you could already cook without using wood or LPG or electricity. So I started promoting that. And I always say there is no need for us to reinvent the egg. If there was something already there, you should try to use that instead of reinventing, because we should not make an ego issue that I am the inventor. So anyway, when I started promoting it, I realized, and I think it's also a very important lesson for any technocrat or for any social scientist, we call it the feedback mechanism. That means you have to listen to people, because just telling them to do something is not sufficient. You also need to understand from them why would they use it. If they use it, what are the challenges they face, and otherwise why are they not accepting it. So when promoting box cooker, we realized that a lot of people had box cooker. They were even using it, but they were not very happy. And we learned from them that the box cooker was a great technology, but it could not fry, it could not make chapati, and it was very slow. So this is where my engineering knowledge came back and said, oh, so there is a need for a technology where you can cook fast, you are able to cook everything, you should be able to do frying, you have to be able to do tadka, vaghar, and everything and all. And it should not be fragile like a box cooker which was of glass. So again, I looked around, and then a friend of mine who was working with me in Wacker Chemie, Dr. Dieter Seifer, He had developed a parabolic dish which was like a dish antenna, but which had a reflector. So all the light falling onto that parabolic dish would be reflected at one point, which is called focus. And when you it's like a magnifying glass in reverse. So whenever we with a magnifying glass concentrate all the sun rays onto a piece of paper or wood, it starts burning, because what happens is that when you concentrate sunlight, the temperature goes up, focal point. And so this was like a reverse magnifying glass where all the light was falling into a cooking vessel, which was painted black, and you could get temperature about 300 degrees centigrade. So you could actually put anything and you could fry and cook everything into it. So I brought that technology to India. Again, I did not invent it. I sort of saw the problem. I saw the solution. I combined it together. And I said, okay. So I brought the technology to India. Then we had to indigenize it, because the way it was manufactured there was different than what we do it in India. So I had to again sort of develop a process by which can be manufactured with local available scale, locally available machineries and all. And we started supplying it. And initially the response was great, because people who were using box cooker were very happy that here there was a technology where you could now fry, you could make chapati, you could cook very fast. But very quickly we reached the plateau. And the problem was not technology, but the problem was affordability. And I always said this was a dichotomy, that people who needed the technology could not afford it. The large population for whom we had actually decided to devote our life and help them into cooking without using deforesting, for them a cooker was very expensive. Such a parabolic dish at that time was costing about 7,500 rupees. Now it's costing about 10,000, and it could cook for about 10 to 15 people. But that is a lot of money for them. So they could not afford it. And people like us, middle class and rich, who can afford it, they don't want to use it, because they said, I have got LPG. At that time it was even subsidized, so it was so cheap. And then LPG allows you to cook in the comfort of your kitchen. You don't have to go into the sun. The sun, you are able to cook with the heat which is in your kitchen. So I realized that someone sort of told me, why don't you bring a technology where the sun comes in the kitchen, a middle class woman, and that gave me the idea. So again, I always say that mind is like parachute. It only works if it is open. So you have to have a very open mind. And so a lady gave me the idea, bring a technology where the sun comes in the kitchen, you also want to cook in the comfort of the kitchen. So again I went back to Dr. Seifert and said, look, your technology is great, it does what people want, but not the way it wants. It does not allow people to cook in the comfort of the kitchen. Can we do that? So he connected me with another colleague of his who was a physicist, Mr. Wolfgang Schaeffler. So I went to him and I saw a technology where he had a parabolic dish which was placed outside the kitchen, and the sunlight was reflecting into the small opening in the wall into the kitchen, and that enabled cooking in the comfort of the kitchen. So again I brought the technology from them. Again, all these people were very kind. Normally we think that India is the only place where we have Mahatma Gandhi. I think in every part of the world there are good people. We just need to connect, we need to find them. And I was very fortunate. I found Dr. Seifert, Mr. Wolfgang Schaeffler, who gave me the technology free of charge. So I didn't have to pay them anything. They even helped me. They even came to India to help me manufacture and transfer the technology free of charge by training my people. So what we have done is now to offer a solution. You cannot do through NGO, because through NGO you can only create awareness. But when you want to do business, your NGOs are not allowed to do any business. So we started a company called Gadia Solar. So now on one side we had a NGO. So I always say that we became a social enterprise. So NGO was creating awareness and the company was offering solutions. So they were like two wings of a plane, and you require both to be working in harmony so that you're able to have a safe flight. So with that we became a social enterprise. And then of course when you start selling a product, then it has to be affordable. You have to be able to offer services, you have to have people, you have to train them. So we slowly became entrepreneur and we kept on evolving. Now the problem was that people who wanted to cook in the comfort did not want to spend so much money, because a cooker which was costing that time 7,500 rupees was costing a lakh rupees now, because you also had to have a tracking mechanism where the dish will move along with the sun. So it became more expensive, and then we realized that we have to now change the market. Instead of selling the solar cooker as a domestic cooker, why can't we make a dish bit larger and offer it as a community cooker where we can cook for 50 people, 100 people. So that's what we started. We started offering the system to midday meal programs where they were cooking for 50 students, 100 students, 200 students. And then there would be like 2 or 3 dishes. With one dish, you could cook for about 50 youngsters or 50 grown up or 100 youngsters. And we started offering community kitchen. So that was very successful. And then one day we received an inquiry from an NGO called Brahma Kumari in Mount Abu, and they wanted to cook for 1,200 people. And initially we said, okay, buy 12 of our dishes and you can cook for 1,200 people. But they said that's not possible for them, because if they have 12 dishes, they require 12 cooking vessels, they require 6 cooks, because one cook can look after 2 cooking vessels. And they said, that's not possible. So again, we had a challenge that here was a client who needed to cook for 1,200 people but could not add up the technology I want. So I again went back to Germany, and the company where I was working, which were doing boilers, thermic fluid systems, I told them, look, I have a technology where I can bring the sun in the kitchen. Now, can I bring the sunlight at one point instead of 12 points? Because 12 dish would have 12 focus. And they said, why do you want to do that? Why don't you create steam and use the steam and pipe the steam? You don't have to bring the light. Actually, when you cook with the steam and heat. And so that was for the first time in the world where we developed a technology along with the technology transfer from Dr. Seifert, Mr. Wolfgang Scheffler, the engineering input from HTT GmbH, the company I was working with and talking with. And along with the team of Brahma Kumari, we developed the world's first solar steam cooking system where instead of cooking with heat from the flame, we were cooking with steam. And that system was very successful. And because of that, I started offering solar steam cooking system. And we went on to become the world's largest company where we supplied systems to Shirdi Temple, Tirupati Temple, Brahma Kumari, Shri Shri Ravi Shankar, Haridwar primarily. But then very quickly as a businessman, we also have to look forward. I always say that life is like a game of chess. You have to be always one step ahead of the competitor. Because whatever you do, there will be copycats. And they would be cheaper to manufacture because they are perhaps not as conscious of quality of their brand. And perhaps they can do it cheaper because they don't have to do all the R&D work which we have gone through. So we have to be always one step ahead of your competitor. So we said, look, all my clients are temples. Why can't I expand my market? Why can't I look for a new market? And so we started offering it to industrial canteens, to IT canteens or mess, to Indian Army, to hospitals, to jail, to universities, to colleges, to schools. So we kept on expanding the market and we were doing quite well. But then again, we said all the time we are offering cooking with steam. And then suddenly one day, I live and work in an NGO called Muni, Seva, Ashram. I have sold my company and I am a trustee in Muni, Seva, Ashram. So our chairman told me, you know what, Deepak, I want to cook early morning, I want to cook at night when the sun is not there. So for the first time, we developed a technology where instead of cooking with steam, now we are heating a hot oil called thermic fluid. But the thermic fluid is just a heat carrier, it does not burn. So we store the energy into the thermic fluid and then we draw the energy out of thermic fluid at night and cook at night or the next morning. So we then evolved the technology of thermal storage, how you can store thermal energy and use it 24/7. But then again, suddenly one day we were reflecting back and said, look, we have done great. We have been able to offer and become one of the world's largest companies in solar cooking. But we came to India not to just offer cooking solutions. We wanted to help the country as a large. And as you all may be knowing, 70% of our population lives in villages. So we said, how can we deploy this technology to the village? How can we help villages? Because at that time, a lot of farmers were killing themselves even now. So we said, how can we help them? And we were surprised that how can a man who grows food go hungry? Why is a farmer poor? And we realized the farmer is poor because he produces perishable product. Whatever he produces, if he doesn't sell it in a day or two, he has to throw it away. So now, if you look at any statistics or analysis, you will realize that whatever you buy from a farmer, whether it is vegetable, whether it is some herbal products or fruits, they only get 10 to 12% of the end price what you are paying. Lot of money goes to the middleman, lot of money goes into cold storages, transporters, retailers, wholesalers, the whole value chain. So the farmer who grows and takes all the risk, put all the effort, does not get money. So we said, how can we help a farmer with our technology? And then suddenly we realized that there is a great future and potential for using solar energy, especially thermal energy, for food processing. So let me distinguish between solar thermal and solar photovoltaic. Because a lot of time when people talk of solar energy, now people think only of photovoltaic. Photovoltaic is a technology where you convert directly the sunlight into electricity by using a silicon cell which converts the sunlight into electricity. So that's a great technology, but that is good for producing electricity. But the technology I'm talking about is where you directly use the sunlight not to produce electricity, but to take the heat out of it and use it for heating and other applications. So we started offering systems for food processing. Just to give you an example, if a farmer sells potatoes, he gets about 20 rupees per kilogram. But if he converts potato into potato chips, he gets 400 rupees per kilogram. And now he has a product which is not perishable. He can sit on it till he gets a value what he wants. He doesn't have to go into city and do the processing there. It can be done at a village level because the space is available, sunlight is available. So I think this solar thermal application is a great future for rural development. It can be also used for desalination to make drinking water. Desalination is a process where we convert the sea water into potable water. It's just the way the nature works. What does nature, how is drinking water produced? The sunlight falls onto the sea water evaporates, it becomes cloud and condenses and comes back as a rain. So the same thing we are doing, we are actually evaporating the sea water with our sunlight, high temperature, and the steam evaporated is condensed and you get distilled water, and you add a bit of salt and you get drinking water. So that it has also applications like drinking water. It can be used in process industries for wastewater evaporation, for sludge drying. It could be used for dehydration, means wherever you want to dry your agriculture products or fruits or herbs, where you have blow hot air over your agriculture product and the water evaporates and it becomes non-perishable. So there are thousands of applications for solar thermal application, and that offers opportunities. And these are technology which will create job employment in design, because see, in photovoltaic you can just buy panels and then design and say, okay, with one panel I can get 300 kilowatt, and from you multiply and say I have to supply 1.2 kilowatt, and you buy 4 panels and then string them together, put them on a structure and put them into a battery and then get power, or you put into the grid. So there is not much engineering there, but solar thermal engineering requires a lot of manpower, a lot of design work. It requires a lot of manufacturing. It creates jobs, because in PV we are only importing the panel from China, Taiwan, Korea. In India, till now there was no cell manufacturing. So luckily now government is promoting cell manufacturing, but it's going to be taken another 1 or 2 years before PV comes. So at present, whenever we are using photovoltaic, we are helping China, not ourselves. We hardly create any job in India, because the only jobs you create are people who can do a bit of civil work, a bit of structural work. But the main money, where the value addition is like making panels, inverters, cables, they are coming out of the country. So solar thermal application is something which can be done locally. So like we are talking of Atmanirbhar Bharat, this is a technology where you can actually create jobs, create value addition, help rural economy. So it's a win-win situation, not as a product but as a country as a whole. So I'm very glad that I'm here to be able to share my views and vision of solar energy. I still have 10 minutes, and I'm sorry I'm talking fast, but like I was told to talk for half an hour. So I don't want to miss sharing a lot of work I have, but you can also go on Google and look at my talks on YouTube in Mega Kitchen. So the world's largest solar steam cooking system was installed by my company Gadia Solar at Shirdi Temple, which cooks 50,000 meals per day. And then the place where I am, Muni Ashram, I talked to you about, our chairman also told me that, look, you have done thermic fluid system, but now I have another problem. I am using a lot of money for running a cancer hospital. 50% of my cost of the hospital is for cooling. So why can't you do cooling with solar thermal energy? And I said, yeah, but for cooling you require air conditioners, and air conditioning require electricity. He says, no, I have a different cooling system. He had a technology called vapor absorption chiller, where he was using steam to do the cooling. So I said, oh, then it's very simple for me. That means I don't have to develop the cooling system, but I have to develop a system which can produce steam to run your cooling plant. So that is how India's first and the largest solar air conditioning plant was developed and installed at Muni Seva Ashram, which is a 100-ton solar air conditioning plant, where with 100 dishes of 12.5 square meter, we are able to produce 400 kilograms of our steam at 10 kg pressure, 180 degrees centigrade, and with that we have been able to do cooling. So I walked you through the journey that I started small for domestic cooking, went on to community cooking, went into institutional cooking, then went into value addition. How can I use the technology not only for cooking but for process heating, and now I talked about process cooling. And again, I always say it's your journey is like going up the mountain. The higher you go, more you're able to see the application. Just like when you go up in the mountain, then you can get a larger view. So once you enter your business and as you start growing, you realize what is the potential. So very often, the first step is the most difficult to take, because a lot of people are afraid to take the first step. I always say that it's very important to have this 4P, the 4P. That is passion. You have to be very passionate about what you do. Second thing is perseverance. You should not give up. It means when you start something, you will get a lot of obstacles. You should not give up. You have to persevere. Then the third is professionalism. That means whatever you do, you have to be professional, because it's not about just helping people, it's about helping yourself, and people will come back to you only if you give them a good product, good service, and solve their problems. Very often people are just interested in selling, and they don't give you after service, they don't respond because they say, okay, mujhe mere paise mil gaye hain. That doesn't work. That's not a long-lasting solution. And fourth is the purpose. Whenever you do something where you get fulfillment, then you identify. Then it's no more a job or a business. It becomes a part of your life. And that's what I am. That's why I call myself a solar and social entrepreneur, where I do something what I like. I make also money out of it. So money is not bad. But with what gives me happiness is not the money, but that I am able to help people solve their problem, helping the environment, helping society. So when you are using solar energy, you are not only helping people save money, or you are not helping people save environment. Like I said, I came in because I wanted to save forest, but I was very surprised when I started offering solar cooking solution that every year in the world 3.2 million, that means 32 lakh women and children die every year because of smoke in the kitchen. And I could not understand how can people die with the smoke in the kitchen, because when you cook with LPG or electricity or thermal applications, you don't have any smoke. But you will be surprised that in 1985 when I came back to India, and even in 2020 while I am talking, 50% of the world population cooks on open fire. And when you cook with open fire, that means with three-piece technology, when you burn the wood on 3 stone or any other way, then there is a lot of smoke which is evolved, and that is called indoor pollution, and that is killing the people. So now whenever I am offering my solar cooking solutions, I am also solving the indoor pollution problem. So solar cooking is not only to save environment and to save money, but it is also to save health of the people. And now people buy not only because of these 3 things, people also want to buy because they also want to become clean energy. They want to use clean energy. They want to become green. They want to contribute to global warming. So now there are many reasons why people are going to go and use solar energy, like photovoltaic, like biogas, for solar thermal applications. So I will talk only about solar thermal applications today. And one day a gentleman came and told me, sir, you are producing very high temperature in the focus, and you are using for heating and cooling and wastewater evaporation. Can you not burn dead bodies with it? Because in India, we have 700 million Hindus, and they all require wood to burn, and there is not enough wood. We have 700 million Hindus, and for every body to burn, you require about 200 to 300 kilograms of wood. So you multiply 700 million into 300 kilograms or 200 kilograms, you will come to a number where there is not enough wood in our country to burn. And that problem we are already seeing in big cities now. There are electrical crematorium, there are gas crematorium. So the idea was, can you use solar crematorium to burn dead bodies? So at Muni Ashram, we have developed and installed with help of a friend called Roni Sabawala, he is no more, who developed this 50 square meter Scheffler dish. We have now installed it at our ashram, and we are trying to burn dead bodies with it. So then suddenly we realized that when you want to burn bodies, you also have to make sure that it burns even when there is no sun. So we have developed a technology called biogas, so we can have carbon neutral cremation. So again, just to again summarize, because now I have only 3 minutes, there is so much opportunity available. There are enough problems in the world. Only thing what you need to do is to select one problem and apply your mind. There is a very nice saying which says, what is not common is common sense. You don't have to be very high tech, you don't have to be very educated. You have to use common sense, and of course understand a bit of engineering, talk to some people. You can seek help, work as a group. In your group, let it be interdisciplinary, let there be a mechanical engineer, electrical engineer, some social scientist, some NGO, and only as a team you will come out with a solution which can be long lasting. The time of keeping know-how for yourself, working alone is gone. You have to work with other people so that you can grow, you can delegate work. So I would not like to continue. I wish you all the best. At present, what I'm bringing from Australia technology, because the biggest challenge when we were doing solar thermal energy was, or even in solar photovoltaic, is that nature is very kind to us. It is giving us ample of sunlight, but it comes in a diffuse form. And it is also good that it is coming in diffuse form, otherwise we will be burnt. As we know, even people get sunburnt when they go in the sun, because, and we are lucky that in India we have brown skin, because had we the white skin like a European, our skin would have got boils. It's called sunburn. So nature knows what's best for us. So in Africa and Asia, where we have a lot of sun, he has made us brown skin and black skin. And in the countries like Europe, where there is not enough sun, he has given them white skin. So nature, whatever it does has a reason. It has a larger purpose. So that's why I always say it's a Westerner who has to wish good morning. In India, we don't wish good morning. We say Jai Shri Krishna or Jai Siya Ram or Jai Gurudev, whatever. Because sun is there. So we are blessed with sun. But the problem is, because it's coming in diluted form, we require a large area, and food place was becoming a problem. So now I'm bringing a technology from Sunrise, Australia to India, where we are bringing a technology where instead of using hundreds of dishes, we will have only one dish. And in one dish, we are able to do what 100 dishes require. So it's like going multi-story. Like in a village, instead of having 100 small houses, you have a multi-story building in which you can have 100 flat. The same way, we are going for a large dish and 7-story high, where we trap all the sunlight onto one dish. And because of that, you have a lesser footprint, a lesser area required on the ground. You have a higher efficiency, and you are able to do higher other applications. We can go up to 1700 degrees centigrade. So it will be not used for only cooking. It can be also running power plant. It could be also doing cooling, it could be desalination, it could be used for produce synthetic fuels like hydrogen, oxygen, CO2, ammonia. These are the fuel of the future, technology of the future. So friends, I am thankful again to Facility Management Group for offering this opportunity to talk to you, share with you our work. I will share with them my presentation PowerPoint, which you can have a look at it and see along with the images. So whatever I have talked is not an idea. This is something which has been done. It has taken me 30 years to reach to this point, and the work has not ended. So I always say now, my job is to pass on my knowledge, our experiences to the young generation. So I'm also a mentor to a lot of startups, where when students, engineering students, or when they have ideas, they can come to me, they can become entrepreneur, and I can guide them, mentor them. And Government of India has started fantastic programs like Startup India, Stand Up India, in which there are incubators now. There are so many possibilities for people to convert the idea. I'm also working with IUCE, that is Indo-Universal Collaboration for Engineering Education, where we are talking to students and telling them how to use their engineering knowledge into doing learning-based projects, where they do projects which can also afterwards become a product. So there are many, many opportunities. Even Google has made it possible. The world has become flat. There is a very famous book from Tom Friedman, where he says the world is flat. Previously, knowledge was not very easily available. You have to go to a gurukul and stay with your guru. Now Google is your guru. Google gives you information. But only thing is, you need to be focused. You need to know what you want. Because otherwise, if you go into Google without knowing what you are looking, then you can get lost. You get defocused. So make idea a timeline. I say I want to go for Google to find this solution. I only look for that. Don't get distracted. So I wish you all, everyone, all the best. For any further information, if you wish, you are free to contact me. You can find me on Google. My email address is my telephone number, or through Facility Management. So I have taken my half an hour to share with you. Thank you very much. And if there are any questions, I will be glad to answer. I do not know how Facebook Live works, if there is any interaction possible. So I will wait, and Nilesh bhai, if you are there, give me a call and tell me, do I end, or is there any possibility?